Okay. Major drop. Okay. That's something I can get back to later. I have the announcement out. We have this already. I should be live, hopefully. Give me a word if I am. I'll take out my chewing gum for now. Hello, Davey. Welcome. MR. Just finished stream. Nice. And welcome here. Subject Ultra is here. Demma is here. Alex Kidd. He posted a message at 12:30, so I don't think that he will be here. So I don't have to say hi to him, unless he shows up later, in which case I will, obviously. But yeah, welcome to the stream. Today we're starting off with a little bit of stalling. I need to wait a little bit because there's something that I need to talk about and I need a bunch of people to be here. I do have some other things that I can talk about before. The very first thing is this. Right here, you can see we have the products that I recently purchased. And this is going to be my studio upgrade. So I have some Adams. I have Millennium Desktop monitor stands here. I have this. So this is the bundle. And these two are the items within it. I don't know why it puts it like this. But yeah, that's it. New audio interface here. And some cables. So that's going to be the studio update. They threw in isotope ozone elements, but I don't care about that. I already have that. So yeah, that's going to be the studio upgrade. That's going to be how I'm going to be making better music, hopefully. Just need to move my microphone slightly here. All right. Curl is the best. Yeah, I had some help from Ollie, who has a very similar setup. The only difference that he has is that his monitors are the A7X version. So that's the old version of the monitors that I'm getting. And to be honest, I don't think we knew what the difference is between them. We didn't really talk that much about it. But one of the things that he said is, yes, that brand of cables is the best for studio and stuff like that. So that's what I trusted. He has that stuff. So I decided to just go with that. And since he has, good music and a cool setup and it works for him, I'm just going to copy what he has, but update it, I guess. Because he also has a very similar audio interface. He has the 4-input version, and I'm taking the 2-input version. Because realistically, all that I need is a microphone input and a line in for this thing. Once I get this thing to work, because it's not working right now because of some MIDI loopback thing. I don't think I can show it right now, but maybe I'll show that in the future why it's not working. Maybe it fixes itself in the future. The cool thing about the Arturia thing here is that this has MIDI input, so it might work as MIDI input and MIDI controller as well. In which case, I'll buy 2 MIDI cables and just use this as my MIDI controller as opposed to the MIDI thing that I'm using now, which is like a USB to MIDI thing. It's a little bit wonky. Chizzy Wizzy, how are you doing? Welcome. Sonic Flux, welcome. Lumira, I think I already said welcome, but if I didn't, welcome to the stream. I'm doing well, thank you for asking. Everybody is very happy, or seems to be happy with Cordial, so I hope it works for me as well. The other thing that I want to quickly talk about is what is going to happen to the High Tech from Scratch series. For those that have been following the series, I'm going to stop the series as it is right now in video format. Like, there's not going to be any more videos in the series. It's just going to be live streams. And I'm going to be replacing it with this, which is essentially, I don't know how many of you guys know it, but it's essentially a series that a different YouTuber does, which is like a ramble series, where he just takes clips from his live stream. You can see in the edit here that there is, just look up here, the top track These are the individual like title cards. So bit depth versus bit rate is a discussion about bit depth versus bit rate. Then the next one, how do I make the wavetable for my baseline patches, is a discussion about how I make the wavetable for my baseline patches. And it's all the like small clips that I would normally, I guess, throw away from the other series because or from the stream that I used for the High Tech from Scratch series. Because the last High Tech from Scratch was just didn't perform well. It performed terribly. I can quickly open up some analytics so you guys can see what I mean. I talk about it in this video as well, the reason why I'm doing it, but I want to mention here as well. If I go to the High Tech from Scratch series, you can see that it's just massively underperforming, right? It's very low. It gets 329 views where I normally get 800 to 1.2k views per video. So, and this is my view, by the way. So this one doesn't count. But anyway, that means that this series is going to stop in the way that it's no longer going to become videos. And I'm going to replace it with a series of videos where I'll be... It's called Conversations with Projector. As you can see, Conversations with Projector, episode 1 here. And the whole idea behind it is that it's the interesting stream clips that I would normally take out of the High Tech from Scratch video because they don't really fit within the High Tech from Scratch like part, right? Because it's not the sound design. I'm not actually working on the project. So normally I would cut out these conversations. But with the one that I've recorded now, I was editing it here. And I was like, okay, how can I make this not boring? How can I make it so that people continue to stay here and continue to watch? And what I thought was the more interesting part of my live stream, I got up until, I guess, here-ish. And then I just decided, like, okay, I'm going to take all of the conversations and take those out instead. It takes me a lot less time to then edit it as well, which is another benefit. And it's, I put it in here and I just edit the conversations down so it's easy to listen to. It's almost going to be like a podcast format of all of the interesting discussions that we have on a particular stream. And as you can see, this is like an hour of clips and things that we talk about and stuff like that. Goa finally. Well, I'm going to continue with the live streams from scratch idea, the live stream from scratch kind of thing. And so that means that at some point the high-tech track will be finished and then we'll get into something else. I don't know which that will be yet. I'll probably put up a poll on my YouTube page somewhere or on Discord or whatever. But I'm not going to be making it in video format anymore. Hey Tai, welcome. How are you doing? Nice to see you here as well. So I stalled for a little bit. I wanted there to be a little bit more people here, I guess, but it doesn't seem to be rising too much. The reason for that is because we need to talk about Sileth. He was a member of my community and he contributed a lot to my community. I quickly pulled up his Discord messages as well. You can see he constantly pushed his tracks out. He was typing in here. He was typing in other things and stuff like that. But he was a big member of my community. You can see his name is in red as well, which means that he was a Patreon subscriber. So he supported me on Patreon financially. And the reason why I say he was and not he is because unfortunately he passed away. So that's pretty rough. And that's what I wanted to start the stream off, kind of a little bit in dedication to him. Because this is like the first time it happens. It's obviously very strange, very rough that this happens. But this is a person that interacted with me, that supported me and supported the community, had a record label, supported other people in the community. And it's just, very rough that this happened. So what I just wanted to do is I wanted to start off by playing a track of his and just do that. To be honest, I don't really know him. Like, I see this picture now, for example, and this is the first time I've seen his face or ever, seen him. Because we didn't really, talk much outside of just, internet talk and stuff like that. But it is really sad, and it is, really hard that stuff like this happens. He's 35 years. So it's, way too young to be leaving this world. And I think it's a good thing to just honor him a little bit, spend some time listening to his music, and remember, a very nice person who did a lot for the community. So I'm just going to be honest, I don't really know what I wanted to play here. I got this information 2 hours ago, so I'm a little bit unprepared as well. Like, I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this happening. But I guess we'll just, click on the random one, maybe the last one here, and just listen to one of his songs. Spend some time, reflecting, stuff like that.
Freedom is a choice and yet so many people decide not to. I'm a free man. I think we're crazy. Call the streets. Honestly,
He gets to make us dance one last time. I know it's a bit of a sad start, but when these things happen, you just have to spend a little bit of time remembering somebody who did a lot for this community. I should have maybe put it in the stream title. Maybe I can whip up a quick graphic here. Is that still? Yes. Where can I put this so that it's clear? It doesn't really work anywhere, but I just want to have some text there so that people know that this is not the normal start of the feedback stream. I should have changed my title as well, but as I said, I'm very unprepared. Need to reduce the 3K and 6K. Please, Dema, now is not the time for feedback. So yeah, just quickly wanted to do that. Small little thing here. To be honest, as I said, I just heard about this 2 hours before, so I couldn't really prepare anything more than this. But I think this is okay in terms of what I did. Yeah. No longer need this. And from now on, now that we have done this, I do want to actually continue and get into like actual feedback and just continue as normal. It also like doesn't serve anyone spending too much time doing this, but you know, a little bit of remembering him and standing still by what he did is always nice. We do we have many? Is this all new? No. Okay. Sorry, I just need to set everything up a little bit better, and then we'll get into it. Okay. So, we'll get started with the feedback now. You can, of course, submit your track in the feedback on stream channel. Before submitting, do remember that if you release the track, it is highly important that you whitelist my channel from any copyright claims that you might be doing. I've been getting almost weekly, more than weekly copyright claims over the last month, I would say, from people releasing music that has been on the feedback on stream series. And of course, I cannot really deal with that. Especially once claims start to turn into strikes, which actually like affects my channel. Right now, there's one active strike on my channel. If I get 2 more, the channel gets deleted and is gone. So then it's the end of Projector. So you have a responsibility to make sure that that doesn't happen when you post or when you release through a distributor. If you release on anything that even remotely claims music, you have the responsibility to make sure that you do not claim my feedback stream, because by submitting your track here, you won't submit like copyright strikes to my stream. Of course, that cannot happen. I don't even know. It should explicitly state here in the rule. Yeah, by submitting your track, you grant me permission to play and review your track during the live stream and the subsequent video on YouTube. This means that I can use your track in my live stream and in my video, and that you give me that right. So you need to honor that right. Not yet did get one of those, but I only make my own stuff. Well, just wait, it will happen to you as well. There is also the problem, the separate problem of false copyright claims, where a big label usually will just claim, you know, a kick and bass that is playing as one of their tracks because it sounds similar to the kick and bass in their track or stuff like that. That's more annoying to deal with, but it tends to be easier to deal with. Like, it's annoying because, you know, like, oh, it's just a big company going after the little guy claiming anything that they can get their hands on. But the other one, where it's my own community that is making claims against me because I provide them a service, like, I guess it's almost harder to believe that that's happening. But it's obviously, once I know who did it, I can just message them and say it like, hey, you need to fix it. And then usually it gets fixed. And usually the claims get dropped eventually. But now I had just one turn into a strike, which obviously, you know, affects my channel, affects the ability of me doing certain things on my channel. I need to be more careful because, if, as I said, if I get 2 more, my channel will just get permanently deleted. There's no way I can get it back. So it's terrible that happens. And I am going to make a video about it, explaining the situation better. I just quickly wanted to say that. So now let's get into the actual feedback stream. I know I stalled for way too long, but We'll get into Oren with What the Bleep. Sorry, this is very loud. This is What the Bleep by Oren. Nice little techno thing, I guess. Feels a little muffled, I would say. You could get away with having above 3 or below 300 Hz. You could like do a little shelf so it just lifts the track up a little bit more. Now the hi-hat is mixed in nicely. I do like the hi-hat. It feels maybe a little too low-end heavy now. Are we going into some dubstep drop here now? I like this part more than what we had before. It still feels a little bit bottom heavy, but it's not as obvious as it was before. This sounds already a lot better. This part too. These kicks are better than the first one. I think it may have been the kick that is just a little bit too sub-heavy. Overall, the way that this track fits together works really, really well. There's one thing that I would say that is maybe a little strange, and that is right before the drop you had two very strong kicks. You lose a lot of the impact of the drop itself there. You can turn them down by like 6 dB, those kicks. Just those two kicks, so that they still have some impact and they're still nice and punchy and strong. But then the kicks that sit in the drop are stronger still. So when you start to dance, you have even more impact. But overall, this is very, very well done. Oh, there's some rendering issues towards the end there with the tail. Oh. That's the autoplay there. Very interesting track. The last thing I will say is that maybe your offbeat hi-hat, the open hi-hat that sits on the offbeat, is a little bit too stereo. For those that didn't hear it. fairly stereo open hi-hat. I would make that one a little bit more mono because it's like the second most important element in your track. So you do want that to, especially in like clubs, come through. Why I can't understand this type of track. I mean, this is techno, I guess. Is it real techno or is this like hard techno? Or hard tech, I guess. I don't know. To be honest, I'm not too familiar with the genre, but I do like it. I can appreciate the qualities that it has from a production standpoint. I would be able to dance to this as well. Yeah, so overall, just very good track. Really like it. Bit of a roller coaster, this one. I do agree. It was a bit of a roller coaster. Sounds hard trancey. To be honest, I'm not familiar with what exactly differentiates between hard tech, hard dance, hard trance, all those things. I guess hardstyle is fairly unique in that it's its own culture and it stands a little bit away from the rest of it. But all of the other hard, like 160 to 180 BPM genres, I don't really know what the differences are between them. There's a few that you can pick out, something like Frenchcore or speedcore. You know, the core genres, you can pick that out from the hard genres because they are just much more distorted, I guess. You know, on average, I should say. There might be some tracks where that isn't the case, but on average, the hardcore and the speedcore and which is the other one, the Frenchcore, those stand out more from like hard tech, hard trance, hard dance, all of that stuff. Made into psytrance, it would sound like Damage, this master record style. To be honest, I'm not exactly familiar with who that are. Terror is another thing, yeah. Terror is another subgenre. There's a whole bunch of different subgenres, and I don't know what identifies each one of them. I would say I barely know what identifies the different subgenres in psytrance. Like really, if some tracks, if you ask me, is this force or is this dark side, it's hard to tell. You know what I mean? Hello, Acid. Welcome. How are you doing? Next up, we have a work in progress track by Demma. This is Worldcraft, 152 BPM, F sharp. We're going back to psytrance, everyone. For those that didn't like that last track, I did like it, but some high tech or some psytrance is nice as well. A little bit quiet all of a sudden. I did find out that I could boost it here. And it would boost it for the analyzers and for you guys as well. I'm boosting it now by 10 dB. At least the kick and bass is nice and clean. That effect that is happening there is like very plucky when the kick comes back, when the bass stops for a little bit. This one here, I guess, or maybe that's a different one. But that effect that I mentioned, it felt like it wasn't on rhythm. I did check the kick and bass, yeah. Bassline could be a little bit louder though, like 2 dB. It could also have a bit more presence in terms of transient. It feels like it doesn't really click. Hello Shadow Rage. Farley, how are you doing? The difference is the spelling. Yeah, it's true. Sep G, welcome. Very nice transition here. I like this. Here I would just keep it that one effect that you're having here and the one that is sitting in here. I would remove those. I would just keep it to like the texture stuff because you're very low energy anyway. And then yeah, right here you can kind of get back into it. One of the things I do notice with a lot of these tracks, where it's more towards the like darker, the full-on kind of part, is that there's not a lot of individual sections. Like I feel like these are the same sounds that we're playing in the beginning of the track. I would like to maybe see a bit more separation. Some of these synths start to sound very, very loud now. It feels like they're overtaking, yeah, like that one there. This stuff, it feels like that's overtaking the kick and bass in presence now. You can see it in the waveform as well. The waveform is starting to get messier. What is your analyzer plugin? This is Signalizer. Write the producer name in the side. I don't think there's an easy way for me to quickly and automatically edit any text there. For those that do want to know, this is Demma with Worldcraft. I'll talk about it a little bit later if the track is finished, by the way. As cool as all of the sound design is, what I think is the biggest issue as of now in terms of writing the track is that it feels all very much the same, right? The mixing stuff, you can fix that later. The kick and bass balance, you can fix that later. The clickiness of the bass line, you can fix that later. But in terms of writing the track, what I feel like this track is missing is the unique spot where maybe it's a little bit lower in energy, maybe something like that. Maybe you have a section where it's just one synth playing a very strong sequence, right? Because now it feels like there's always 5 sounds playing and they're always kind of like sequenced in the same way. Like they're always taking each other over and quickly switching between the different tonalities and stuff like that. And as cool as that is, if you do that for 8 minutes, like throughout the whole 8 minutes, it's gonna become boring at some point. Right? So what I would suggest is at some point in here you just have like a build up or a fill, and then you just go into a part where it's just one synth playing. And then you slowly build it up again. Maybe you have some extra atmospheres in there, maybe some extra one-shots that slowly come back in. And then you can, of course, go back into what you were doing now. Because I feel like if you're doing this for 8 minutes straight, it becomes too boring. Do you find Signalizer takes up CPU? It takes up a little bit of CPU, but not much. It isn't taking up a lot. What I wanted to say in regards to the artist name and getting those things more on the stream, I get a lot of questions with like now playing and stuff like that. It is really hard for me. So what I've thought of doing is, since I have this little space in here below my camera, is to essentially have another browser source in OBS, for those that know what OBS is, and just put this in here, kind of like this, but automatically. So my other monitor gets shown there, but that's really hard to do. The other option is that I would constantly need to manually edit the text every time I play a new track, which is something that I'm going to forget, right? And then a different producer is going to get credited for a track. So once in a while I might forget to do that. I can send something that makes it automatic. One of the issues that is really big is like, okay, now it's SoundCloud that is here, but with a YouTube channel, the thing is at a different spot. So a YouTube video, if I put it here like this, wouldn't work, because, you know, the title would be much lower. It would be down here somewhere below what we can see now. And then with a Google Drive, it would be in a different spot still. So it's a little bit hard. The other thing is that the monitor that I have where I play the music from, it is the same monitor that I use to control or to check the health of my stream, right? So to see if I don't have any connection issues and stuff like that. So that's something that I still need to switch between. So it's not always on the page of the music. So I cannot do it with a browser source. I would love to do it with some text, where I don't have to manually edit it, go into OBS. Because OBS shares the screen space with Discord, which obviously I use to look at all of the tracks. Because once the stream is started, I technically don't really need to look at OBS. There's another development that I'm making. I'm buying a Stream Deck soon, which I'll have one of those smallest one. Their name's in the Discord channel when they post the submit, so it's easier for you. Yeah, that would be an option, but then I would have to switch them back and forth manually, and then just edit the text document or the text thing, kind of like in the same way that we used for Silas Memorial that we just did, where I just have a piece of text and I just manually have to edit it every time. That's annoying, but it's the way to do it. I am making a habit out of it of saying it before and after the stream. Right, so after the playthrough, so that anybody who joins in while the track is playing also gets to hear who made the track. But yeah, the other development that I'm going to have is that I'm going to buy a Stream Deck. So because for now, what I do when I go on a break is I just have this text here. Wait, why is this one the same now? Did this mess up my break text as well? I think it may have. Yeah. So it used to look like this, taking a break, right? I would just have this on the screen, I guess somewhat like this. This looks really bad. I should also have it away from the chat. So like this. This used to be the break screen. When I would take a break, this is how it would look, right? And I would turn off my camera and my microphone and whatever. So I want to do it in a way where I can just push a button and it goes to a different scene and I can just go on a break and it's much easier, much more fluent. I also want a full cam version, so that when I do the new chat series that I'm starting, you know, the thing that we talked about at the beginning of the stream that I showed in Premiere, that I can do certain chats in full screen so that it looks a little bit better. How do I need to send the track via Discord? Exclamation point feedback should indeed get you in the Discord server where you can get into feedback on stream. You read this before posting, especially this part here, so that you don't copyright strike me when you release the track, and then you can indeed just post the track in here. Hello Greedo, how are you doing? Welcome. I'm doing well. It's a bit of a strange day. I just heard that one of my Patreon supporters and longtime community members died. So, that's tough. But I'm just trying to get through it and move on. Next up, we have Better Message. Or, I don't know what the artist name is here. Is it Better Message or Forced? I'll just show the track every time nowadays on Discord like this as well. Maybe that's a good way of doing it. So I just show the post of the track that I'm about to play, and then afterwards I'll say who the artist name is. Anyway, the track that we're going to listen to is Better Message, Forced. I don't know which of these two is the artist name, but the track name I'm assuming is 3, Raw Preview. So let's have a listen. Bit harsh here on the intro. I still have the thing louder. That explains it. It sounded like the track was already beginning with the drop. As in, the filter went so open that the kick and bass was essentially playing normally. And also at the same volume, so now the kick and bass has no impact. I also feel like this bass line could be a lot better. I cannot really tell if it's clean or not. It does look like it is shortened to be clean. And the kick transients seem okay, so that's good. But it also feels fairly weak, the bass line. It could be a little bit louder, it could be a little bit just stronger in terms of tonality as well. Could have a little bit of stereo processing on there as well. That felt a little bit strange. Like you didn't clean it up there, the kick. It's a little bit of a loud effect there. I guess this is still unmixed. So that's a lot of the reasons for why this is happening. Or why I'm giving the feedback that I'm giving. Like on the bass and stuff like that. Maybe he'll just naturally work that out if he's mixing. This riser here as well, I would turn that down quite a bit. But sounds like these, they really start to overtake the kick and bass. That's not what you want. You want your kick and bass to still be the main focus of the track. Your lighting looks better today. Thank you. I did actually do some work. The background lights are a little bit dimmed because I no longer have them pointing down at the wall. I have them pointing up now. That's the difference that I made. Overall, I would say the bassline isn't really coming out as much as I would want it to from the track. I think it could hit, I wouldn't say much harder, but slightly harder indeed. As I said, I would turn it up by a few dB. I would just use some EQing and just try to find a stronger tone for it overall. Maybe even some more transient here, like it doesn't really have a click, which is common for Forest. But you can definitely get some nice click out of it if you want to. The drums are very dim as well. You can both turn up the volume of your top drums and give them some more brightness here. You, again, for the dance music that we're creating, we want that little bump here. I'm exaggerating kind of the expression that you want here, right? Like this. But you just want a little bump in the spectrum there, which is what the hi-hats and the snare is making. I think this track has a little bit of the same issue as the last track had. It's not to the same extent, because there's like some unique sounds in there. The barking, the frog sounds, some of the atmospheres are really cool. But it has the same thing in that there's not really any part of the track that stands out as unique, that stands out as memorable. It's just this kind of like from beginning to end wall of sound of always having 4 or 5 sounds playing. It would be cool to just hear a few sections where it's maybe just one sound which has a lot of, you know, unique sound design or memorabilia, or it's sequenced in a very unique way, or it plays a unique melody or something like that. Just this little segment that gives your track that thing that you remember. Because right now, the only things that I really remember are the barking and the frogs. The rest of the sounds I don't really recall hearing. You know what I mean? I want to send in my track for feedback, but there's probably so much I've done wrong, and it's also unfinished, unpolished. Doesn't matter. Just do it. It's not going to get better if you doubt yourself that much. The only way that you can get better is by, you know, facing it, owning up to, this is what I can do, this is my skill, and how do I improve that skill? Because otherwise, if you start thinking like that, you always think like that. Like, it's never good enough, right? I won't release this track yet because I can do better. I won't release the next track because I can do better. I won't finish this production because I can do better. If you always have that mindset, you'll never get anything done, because you can always do better. Even people that have been making sidetrans since the 70s can do better in their next production, and probably will. I still doubt myself. I do too, but I force myself to work through that doubt in order to get stuff done. Like at some point you just have to say, okay, now it's finished, now I need to move on to the next step. That's one of the reasons why I export all of the sounds for mixing, is so that I cannot go back into production. At that point it's like, okay, production is finished, now you have to mix this, and you actually have to finish the track. You actually have to work to make something that you can release, that you can put out there. It's nice that bass and the typical forced ambient sounds could use something else to add. Not just add, I would remove some like, as I said, you want some parts of the track where it's maybe just one shots or one shots and atmospheres. You know, like one atmosphere playing and then one shot on over top, like the barking, like those frogs, without any of the particles, without any of the synths, stuff like that. And then after that, what you would want is maybe a part with just one synth playing, so that it's just this unique thing. One of the synths that I find really effective for this, and it's not really unique to do this, I know. Let me turn on this stuff. But one of the easy synths that you can just make, and that's almost always, you know, will be perceived as unique because you can sequence it in a unique way, or you can do something in it with a unique way, is get like an FM tone, like the first tones from my tones pack or whatever. Something like this, very basic, right? And then you just put a comb filter on it. And then you play with this for 16 bars by just turning it up. I tend to like the negative ones a little bit more. But what you can do to make this part stand out is, or to make a part stand out, is to make this the focus of your track. I would make this like 1 bar long. And then, I don't know, you just do your... your little sequencing. I'm just going to sequence. Something simple here. You just do this. Duplicate that over for 16 bars. Usually 16 bars is enough. After that it does become boring. But you just turn this up, right? This literally can work in any track, however you want. I would add a bit of detune. Maybe a bit of distortion if you want it to be aggressive. And then yes, after like 8 bars here, you can maybe glitch it up a little bit. Here in the fill, you can make a 2-bar fill and make it really unique and really mangle, so that you can go into your, you know, the normal synths that you were doing right now. With add, I mean add sections that are just different, some contrast. Yeah, that's what I meant as well. I thought you meant adding as in adding on top of the existing stuff. That's not what I would do, because the existing stuff is already pretty full. In fact, I feel like some parts you would benefit from removing some of the sounds so that you give more attention to the sounds that, you know, you really want to be memorized by the listener. E.G., how are you doing? Welcome. Next up, we do indeed have Etya, who sent his track through Drive. That's not a problem, by the way. Sending it in Google Drive also allows me to play it. But here you can see the problem, right? That we talked about before. The difference between this and this. If I just have an automatic thing here, for one, this doesn't show artist name. So this would just show new project. And then this would be in a different spot. So I cannot really make anything that just automatically shows or this here. I would need to show, I guess, the Discord. So the last track was this one, and now we're going to go into Etya track here. So let's have a listen. If Google Drive wakes up, and there we are. Do I need to volume balance this? Maybe. Less is more. Yes, 100%. Sounds really nice. I like it. It can be a bit louder. Just for the stream. This would be if it's mastered. I'm lacking some top drums here. Like I hear the snare and the offbeat closed hat. I would like some more stuff in the top frequencies. It's not really exciting me here. And there's a lot of other things now playing in the top frequencies, mainly that saw lead. The saw lead can be a bit more dynamic, whatever the ARP is. In this part you can hear it becomes staccato, but in the rest it feels like it's just like a little bit of a wall of noise kind of thing. I think I heard that already. I think we talked about, or we played this either before on the last live stream, this track, or we may have listened to this together in feedback off stream channel on my Discord, because I do remember this track as well, because I suggested to him lowering the kick and bass before the drop by 6 dB, and I think you were also in that discussion. I think this was that we discussed this project on Discord, like in the channel. It is very good. I really like it. It sounded very nice. One of the things I like about it is your vocal mix. Just a small detail here in the beginning, in the intro. A little later. Right here you give a lot of space to the vocal. It could be a bit louder, but the frequency space that you give, right, all of those high frequencies, just leaving that for the vocal, that's really well done. That's one of the things that tells me that you know what you're doing and you know like how the track is supposed to fit together in terms of the spectrum. So that's very well done. I really like that. So that was Eitai here. I'm sorry for the mispronunciation, but you're going to get what you're going to get with me. You guys know that I do that, so that's what you're going to get. Next up, we have this track over here. I should just keep doing it here. Rio Zon Mario with God in Form 152 D minus. Let me know if this works, because this is very easy for me to just show who the artist is and stuff like that. I can just drag it off now again. Dipicus, welcome. Sorry, I had to volume balance it. It wasn't too loud there. It wasn't clipping. That was me. Still was adding 6 dB from the last track. I feel like one of the sounds that you have playing is too low in octave, because all of the harmonics are here bunched together. That suggests to me that you're playing it at a very low octave, which can be cool. I felt like this time the sound didn't evolve too much, so you could maybe automate it in and out again. Great vocal mix. Not such a big fan of the kick and bass. Needs to be cleaned. I do like the overall tonality of it. It needs to be cleaned, and I feel like it's a little bit on the weak side. Like you can see in the waveform that other elements are overpowering it. Right, the synths make the waveform go way louder. You're always going to have a little bit of that, but you don't want it to this extent. Not a fan of the snare that you're using here. I would go with a much noisier, more electronic snare here. I'd also like to hear some more higher frequencies from the drums in general. I know this is supposed to be like a dark psy kind of track, but it's not supposed to be mixed dark. You still want to have some high frequencies because in essence it is still dance music. Some really cool sound design going on there. One day I'm going to get myself Harmer and I'm going to explore all of those atonal things. When at the couch relaxing before Martin's live today. Have fun. Thank you. Same to you. Here, so for example, here the FM sound. One of the things you still need to do there is stereoize the FM, because you have a lot of cool stereo works going on, but then the FM is just completely mono. That sounds very strange. Remind the track name, please. I'll show it again afterwards. I think the biggest problem with the track in terms of like the overall sound of it right now is the synths are a little bit too loud. Because I think both the kick and bass being a bit muffled and stuff like that, and the drums not really coming through in the higher frequencies, both of those are partially due to the fact that the mid-range might be a bit too prominent. How do you get Signalizer to display 3 things at once? Actually 4 things at once. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 of them are a different instance of Signalizer. They're just placed on top of each other in a way that they cover each other up. You can see it right here in the rack down below, by the way. By the way, welcome to Zweep and Aaron. Aaron, that is also my dog's name, but I don't think it is him. I like the atmosphere that you've going on in here. Already in terms of writing, I think this track does a little bit better in having unique elements in here, like this atmosphere in here. That's very unique, just having that in there, the kind of sound, and just playing with that for a long time. And I also heard a lot of points where it's just, okay, now one synth plays, then the other synth plays, as opposed to 5 things always playing at the same time. You still have the sections where 5 things play at the same time, and you still need to have that. I guess, for this genre to work, but not always, in my opinion. Five instances, including some dude headbanging to it. Yeah, that's also an instance of Signalizer. I also react to the waveform. Okay, so this, for those wondering, was Riozon, God in Form 152. I'll also show it in Discord, so you know where to go if you want to follow him. This is his account right here. I don't know, do these pictures always show up in the same color? Like if I say he is the guy with the orange picture, does that mean that everybody sees him with the orange picture? I don't know, doesn't really matter. Riozon Mario is the producer of this track, and if you want to follow him and see where this track goes, this is where to go. Next up, we're going to listen to Tisla, long time submitter here. With his track Incoming. Do you agree? I'm sorry, Shadow Rage. Today I won't be answering as many questions as I normally do. I do have to focus on the music in front of me. But I do agree with what you're saying, yes. Nice kick and bass. I think it's clean. Nice returns here, nice returns there. As you can see here as well. This also looks nice. It's maybe because other things are playing there that it moves a little bit. That's nothing that you have to worry about here and here. One thing I would recommend for you, since you're making the more like happier upbeat kind of sidetrance, is a little bit extra stereo width on the bass line. Kick transient is a bit loud. Yeah, you could clip this off. You could clip off the transient right here without any issue, and for the bassline right here without any issue. I need to do some more tests, but I don't think that actually changes the tonality too much if you just clip it off with like a hard clipper. And it does give you a benefit if you're going into your mastering limiter. Because you have more headroom, so it won't distort as much. You can get some nice loudness out of it by doing that.
Do not try and bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth.
I thought we were going into a slower part with like a sliding bass line here, because it's with the plug thing. The tang, gong, that thing. You can do some really cool stuff with that. I would have appreciated that more than going back into the same sequences. You have a separate screen for chat. I have 3 monitors, 3 screens. I know monitors in the audio world would mean something else, but yes, I have 3 screens. One is my DAW, the one that you guys see. One is here with currently SoundCloud and the stream health. And the other one is here with the chat, OBS and Discord. Some really cool sounds in this part. I like this part. Again, here there's a sound that where you didn't really pay a lot of attention to the stereo field, so that 4-man sound is completely mono. The delay is stereo, right? It ping-pongs left and right, the delay, but the sound itself is completely mono. That tends to sound fairly strange on stereo headphones, because that's the space where the kick and bass is supposed to be. Even a little bit of stereo width, even if it's not a lot. If you want to say like, okay, I want to separate some sounds mono and some sounds more stereo, then it is nice to do that. But then even a little bit of stereo width, so that it's not completely mono, does help make it a little bit more natural sounding. Overall, very nice. I like it. Very nice track. So this was Tesla with Incoming. And next up, we're going to scroll down here to Bandit with Intro. We're playing it halfway through the stream, so I guess it's not so much of an intro after all. Why did it start playing so... like this? It started playing at 16 seconds. Feel like we're lacking a little bit of progression in here. I don't know, by the way, if the volume is right yet. Once the kick and bass starts to play, I can see what the actual volume of the track is. If the kick and bass is hitting maxima, right, 0 dB, or close to that, then I think this is also going to be a little bit too quiet here. But if it isn't, then it makes sense.
With a greater sense of understanding comes a greater sense of wonder and a greater realization that we are part of and not apart from.
Vocal could be a little bit louder here, now that the synth is starting to come up in frequency.
To be afraid of.
Nothing at all.
BPM is going up, I like that. At least that's what it felt like. So it could be louder, I could turn it up now. Turns into a delay in a little bit of a random spot. You would have a fill and then you would have the crash and then you would have it turn into the delay tail there. Bassline could be a bit louder. Feels very empty for how full the drums are. So the drums are an indication of how energetic the track is, right? So with the drums going at full speed, I would expect there to be more stuff happening than just the synth playing every once in a while. The synth sounds like it's playing a segment that is supposed to play when it's just kick and bass playing without any of the top drums. I don't know if this kick and bass is going to be clean. Let's see if we can find a spot later where we can check. Now the sequence makes sense with the drums. In this case I would say the short closed hats could be a little bit louder. That you get more of that tick 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 tick. That faster rhythm that the acid sequence is also playing. Overall, this is one of the few tracks that I can say like they have just one main element playing, like that acid sound. I guess two, with the melodic sound or the melodic part playing as well. Now we can check the kick and bass. It isn't clean, so it's bleeding into the kick. Yeah, you can see it in the transient here as well. But anyway, what I want to say in terms of the writing of this track, I really like how with very few elements you continuously change what is happening. That's very well done. It doesn't become boring. I guess you could put a bit of a fade on the end of the kick. Yes, and you would do the same on the bass line as well. right? You don't want the bass line to continue into the kick here. And indeed, yes, the kick here. This is the transient of the bass, this spike here. So you would want to have this fade to silence before the kick starts to play. This can all be explained by a misplaced filter on the master channel as well, even if you already resampled. That sounded very loud. Very well done. I really liked the sound that you had. I think I gave you enough or a lot of feedback. So this was Bandit with intro. Now we go into Lumira, Dark Psy Tech, also known as Lumira, with Life is a Game, unreleased. If you do release it, make sure that you don't strike my channel.
You cannot escape. You can only change your reality.
Well, this is definitely not Dark Side. So kick and bass again, cleaning is needed, resampling is needed.
Do not let them see your next step.
Here as well, I think, yeah. So they're bleeding into each other. I also feel like the envelope should close a bit more so that you get a bit more click. I'm not a fan of this transition where it's two sounds kind of layering on top of each other and slightly fading in between each other. What I would do is then remove the FM synth in that section so that you really have the other synth, you know, come through.
Now, wake up. Okay, time for an upgrade. Let me explain something to you. The origin behind this game is quiet obscurity. You won't quit, you won't escape, and you will not survive. Reality might be very harsh if you forget where you are.
I feel like the vocals, you try to place them in a fairly loud part of the track. If you want to do that, I would maybe low pass that segment of the track where you have the vocals. On the other hand, they feel fairly loud and uncompressed. And here you can barely hear them. So here they have no place. Do you like the ear riff genre? No. I don't like that. Here as well, you need to boost the volume of the vocal to such an extent that it's going to be really hard to mix this track properly.
Look what you've done. I had no clue. I wasn't even a worthy opponent for you.
By the way, consider processing your bassline more. I can still see the saw wave kind of existing here. There's a minimal amount of phase shift.
I will always
And it's also completely unclean here. Like this is transient is being bled into. The kick transient I guess is okay. I guess you're LFO2ing it, but you're not resampling. So what have we learned, children?
always come back and find you.
We resample, we don't use LFO2 with sidechaining on it, because it's not the same thing. Your baseline itself gets messed up if you do that, and it doesn't solve the kick bleeding into the baseline either.
There you are.
Silly, silly. You never learnt your lesson, and I warned you multiple times. I'm surprised it ended like this. You will always lose in life if you won't accept that every flaw, every minor inconvenience will be used against you.
I think the vocal is slightly too loud here. As strange as it sounds, it doesn't feel controlled. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it's glued into the track. As a teen, were you in any band? Outside of making electronic music myself in my bedroom, I've never done anything in music. Like, there's a piano here, or a keyboard, I guess, here. I have no idea how to play it. So this was, by the way, Life is a Game. Next up, we have another track by Demma. How long have I been streaming? I have been streaming for 1.5 hours. So I'm going to take a little break. Hopefully soon it will look a lot better when I take a break, and it won't look like this anymore. I can get myself a nice scene that just shows what's happening. I would need to have a different break, I realize now, for with the analyzers versus without the analyzers. I do need to quickly put on a track. Let's see. One that I haven't played for a while is this one over here. I think it's my nicest production right now. It's my most finished production. Like, everything is there. I can definitely improve it. And I'll probably improve it when I mix it. And I might even do some of the details still. This one isn't planned for my upcoming album. I am working on an album. But yeah, this is one of the tracks that won't be on it. Will probably be published before that as a single. So yeah, I'm taking a quick break. And then we will continue with another Demma track. So see you in a little bit.
the real fruit is in the social aspect, where you get to meet people and play them a game and have a fun, competitive game. You do the best you can, but if you don't win, you won anyway. Because when you lose, you win too. Because if you're paying attention, you learn stuff.
Just in time. Here I am. Let's catch up on the chat a little bit. Say no to drugs. Indeed. Says the guy who has acid in his name, literally. But okay. Where do people find these types of vocals other than ripping some movie then getting copyrighted? You license them. You get them from a place that allows you to take them. Can I share my track? Yes. Exclamation point feedback should bring up the command that allows you to enter my Discord server. And then once you do, you can scroll down here and you can post your track. Do read this before posting, especially this part. Don't make sure that I don't get copyright claimed if you release your track. I find it annoying that I have to say that now, but that's the case. Can it be a YouTube link? Yes. It can be any form of link as long as I don't have to download it on my computer. As long as I can just play it in the browser, then it's okay. I like the beginning of this track. It should have evolved on its own and not into a side track, in my opinion, but that's just me. Okay. To be honest, I make sidetrans, so I guess that's a difference in opinion then. Okay, so next up we have Demma here. no name for the track. It's 150 BPM F sharp. So if you want to listen to this track after the stream, then you know where to find it. We have more stuff. It's quite a bit of submissions already. Just immediately get into it. Some very cool sound design going on here. Wanted to see if the kick and bass is clean, but there's too much going on at any time. I do think the kick is clean here. It does look like it's going up here right before the transient. I don't know if you're fading out again, because you're fading out here, but this might be with LFO tool or kickstart or something like that. Also, the bass line is louder than the kick. I would have the kick be the loudest element of the track, so maybe take the kick and turn it up by like 2 dB. I don't find any feedback section. Just, if you're enter the Discord, just scroll down until you see feedback on stream here in the stream category. Overall, I like the mix. As I said, the bassline is a little bit on the loud side, or the kick is on the quiet side, whatever you prefer. I would turn up the kick rather than turning down the bass, because you might get into the... Oh, this is the end. I thought it's strange that the volume was turning down, but it's the end of the track. It's just a work in progress. I would turn up the kick as opposed to turning down the bass line, because you might get into the issue of the synths overpowering the kick and bass a little bit. Right now, the synths are balanced with the bass. It's just the kick that is too quiet, in my opinion. So yeah, this was artist Demma here. You can follow them if you want to. And we'll now move on. So that's this link for anybody curious. We'll now move on with Aaron. Hey, it's okay if it's not Sai. Of course, I enjoy your tutorials and music and would be glad if you could tell me off on this one. I will try my best, okay? So this is Aaron Holtz with Where Is Your Mind? It does have a very psytrance title. Sorry. Volume balance here. Again, in this case, what you would need to do is resample your kick and bass, because the kick transient looks like mess. The bassline transients look like a mess. Even if this is just like a sub bass, you do want those to be like individual things. I like the stereo field that you have going on here. I feel like some of the synths are a little bit on the loud side. Those plucky things. That one there, the toon, like the donks, I guess, more. I like the depth that you have though. Are we not going to go into a drop here? Oh. That sounds very strange, that you just have the drop kind of come in after a breakdown and then it immediately fades out and it goes to a break, like an actual breakdown. I wouldn't do that. Either have like another section of drop there that is just the drop playing, or remove that section and go into the breakdown after the actual drop that was playing before. Bass is a little bit loud here, the sub bass. That plug was loud as well. You just have some elements in here that are overpowering for the kick. Keep in mind that the kick is supposed to be the most important element of the track, right? Because that's what you're dancing to. You don't want it to be overpowered, and the same is kind of for the bass because it's the second most important element. You don't want it to be super overpowered by the synths like you have now. Raiders and Sophists, welcome to the stream. Asset as well. I think I already said hi, but hi again if not. Mr. S, welcome. Mr. S, if you don't find it, scroll down to feedback on stream here in the stream category. You just enter here and then you just scroll down up until right here. Sorry man, I just had to delete my link from your Discord because I just realized I didn't have licensing. Thank you. Thank you for saving my ass. Very well done. I really like this track. I think it's a very good example of a proper stereo mix as well. I would love to hear an intro for it because it just went into it and I had it at plus 10 dB when it first played. But overall, I really like that. Again, for those wondering, Aaron here. Aaron Holtz, Where Is Your Mind is the track. And now we go into Jointler here with Dark Acid Nice 1.5 or 1_5, I guess. Some techno went a little bit different on the third build-up. Let's see. It takes a little bit of time for Google Drive to load, but it should start playing. There we are. I think we heard this track before. Very dirty kick and bass here. You should definitely clean that up. Resample it. Because it's just completely messing up the transient. I don't even know where the transient is, where everything is happening. Also, I do think it's maybe a little bit too heavy on the sub bass. And this is by the way, not me boosting the volume. I am at 0 dB. Thank you very much. You're welcome. I hope it's helpful. I like this synth. Sounds very cool. Also, stereo mix is very well done here. I was hoping we were going to go into the drop with the other synth, because we already had an asset line. Overall, the mix is very poorly done, and you can see that in the waveform, right? Like, the waveform should never be a goal, but you can always see if there's something wrong with it, because it's just a mess. It's not clearly defined where things are supposed to happen. So, for example, you have the kick transient, I guess, over here, I think. It gets bled in by whatever's happening after it. And then you have the kick going in here, up until this point, and it completely gets taken over by the asset, like there's no real sub bass in here whatsoever. And then you have this final bit of sub bass happening here. What I think is happening is you're sidechaining very strong on the asset line, and then the asset takes over here completely, and then you turn down the sidechaining again for the kick, so that it stops sidechaining before the kick as you shoot, kind of giving the kick a little bit of space, that transient in the asset line. But you're limiting this so hard that it kind of pushes everything together, and therefore there's no breathing room. Like, you can get this kind of loudness if you want to, but there's definitely better ways of doing that. I do like this part. Nice and high energy. Nice space for the drums. I would also say the drums could use a bit more 10K-ish. That kind of area. This whole track feels very muffled. Very dark. Do you hear, by the way, how the transients are getting like snipped off almost now? Because everything is fighting for space, because it's all being kind of pushed together in the limiter. Better to have an asset line than to take asset and a line. I don't know, man. Why not both? Overall, I really like the ideas, the musical ideas that you have here. You could make the track a little bit longer if you want as well. But the mixing definitely needs a lot of work. Goa question mark? No, this is techno, I think. At least that's how he calls it. So this was Jointler. Next up we have this guy over here. Passos Mesmo, also known as Mindflex. I should have read Mindflex, that's easier for me to pronounce. Yeah, so Mindflex. I saw that it's like Portuguese. leave enough space for the vocal to be understandable towards the end. Overall, the production is very nice. Definitely needs a little bit of work for it to be completely finished. But I can definitely see this going to the right place. So this was Mindflux with Psychedelic Experience, A minor, 145 BPM, no mix, no master. We could definitely hear that last part, but I would also say that a few of the details that we heard are production-wise, especially the elements that you're placing around the vocal. Like, it's going to be really hard mixing it in with a sweep like that, because by design, that sweep is a lot of high frequencies. You know what I mean? Now we have a Noctuned track going up. How many more tracks do we have to listen to? There is quite a few things in here. Right. It's not too bad. I don't think that I'll be spending too much time here. And we're only 2 hours in the stream. So I think I'll just play everybody submission like in order. So this is Noctuned with Earthquake. Let's see. Again, this is Google Drive, so it takes a little time to play. Thanks for the feedback. You're welcome. Did I leave the volume on? Yes. Sorry. Some very loud synths here. I say very, but slightly too loud. They're just overpowering the kick and bass a little bit. So this is a good example of the kick and bass just becoming overpowered, right? I also think the kick can have a bit more punch, a bit more snap to it. See you, EG. Thank you for stopping by. Just want to watch the part with my track. Thanks for the advice. You're welcome. You can see how loud the waveform is, I guess, when that synth is playing. So you can imagine that it being as loud as the kick, it's going to cause some issues. Another thing I'm noticing is that the track could have a little bit more around 200 Hz in terms of just an extra slight EQ boost here. It's a very small detail, this. Come close, welcome to the stream. Jointler, welcome as well. Or is Jointler, is that mono techno? Because they have the same profile pic. Ah, it's the heating. I keep hearing like clicks and stuff like that. But that's the heating that is, I guess, expanding or something like that. Feel like the track is becoming a little bit boring. It's like the melodies are the same over and over again, and the synths are the same over and over again. I feel like I've heard this already. You know what I mean? Here I think the pads are too loud. Overall, I think your top drums, the ones that we're hearing right now, could be a bit more snappy. Also, the kick doesn't have a real transient or real click at the beginning. It just goes up to, I guess, this is 4K-ish, the area. I would have it go up to 8, 9K with the click of the kick drum. As I said, the hi-hats could be a bit snappier. You could use a transient shaper for that. So you get the as opposed to. It also feels like the thing that is now playing on the kick should be playing on the offbeat. But I think in other parts there is an offbeat hi-hat playing. Right? Okay, so this was the Nocturne track by Demma. This is his melodic techno project. I do really like the idea. I think it becomes a little bit boring after a while. But overall it definitely has potential. Oh, I'm tired. I'm sorry. It's very unprofessional for me. But I am a bit tired. I didn't have a good night's sleep yesterday. So that's the reason. I don't know how long I'm going to continue streaming, but I don't think I'll make it to 4 hours today. Over the last 2 days, well, he fixed it. So what happened, I'll explain this. There's a ventilator in the staircase area where my apartment is built around. So essentially, my apartment looks like this. There is... it's like a square. Can I just draw like a solid rectangle here? Yes, like this. And then I have my one room that I'm currently in over here. So this is where I'm now sitting. And then I have the kitchen is kind of like this. I guess it's a little bit higher. It's like this. This. And then this is the bathroom here. And then there is... It's like this. There's a little closet area thingy here. There's a little bit of stuff happening here, but you cannot really walk there. It's like very narrow. And then this is closed off here. So this is my kitchen. I have my bed right here in the kitchen, and then I have my table here and like my kitchen block here and here. It's on 2 sides. This is the whole studio. Normally this would be the bedroom, but I turned this into the studio. So this is the bathroom here. Right here, there was a ventilator, or there still is a ventilator, but it broke. It's normally only turning on whenever it's too warm in the staircase area. So this is the staircase. The staircase goes down here, and then it goes around, and it goes down here as well, right? And then there's more floors down below. So my door is like right here. There's also a lot of air vents and air ducts in here, and there's my own like AC unit, which has the holes in the wall for the tubes to go through. So it's all very noisy, whatever happens in the apartment complex. Also, there's 2 windows, one here and one here. So this ventilator that was here, it's supposed to only work when it's too warm in the stairwell, but there was something with the batteries of the device that controls it, which meant that it, out of safety, just turned on the ventilator, just like all the time. So for the last 2 days, there was this ventilator continuously running, and I say ventilator, but it sounded like an actual jet engine, because it was big like this, and it was completely useless because right next to the ventilator, right here, is an open window. So it doesn't make sense. So anyway, over the last 2 days, I haven't slept very well, and yesterday as well, I think I fell asleep at like 3:30-ish. And I woke up at 9 to the guy actually coming to fix that. So now it's finally stopped. But the last 2 days, I haven't really slept that well. Floor plan reveal. Yes, finally. You guys now know where I live. Or at least how I live. So, next up, Dark Wibble. I assume that's supposed to write, or that's supposed to mean Dark Wobble. But if it's Dark Wibble, I like that name too. By Cat Making Biscuits. Lovely username there. Okay. In this case, the kick and bass is clean. It's very quiet. It could be turned up by 3-4 dB, the kick and bass. With regards to the synths, I think. Especially those atmospheres. Those atmospheres are very loud, maybe. Like the synths that we're hearing now are okay. The other thing here is that this note is too loud. So you have phase aligned it properly. That's nice to see. You just need to turn it down a little bit more so that you don't peak higher than, I guess, the transient of the kick is what I usually use to check if I'm peaking or not. Let's turn it up a little bit so that we can hear how it would sound mastered. Yeah, listening to it now, the kick and bass definitely needs to be turned up. I wish you better sleep now then. Overall, I'm not a very good sleeper. But I hope that I do get some good sleep tonight, yeah. Knowing me, I'll probably stay up until 3 AM again, because that's now my sleep schedule after 2 days. There's a lot of random clicks happening in the higher frequencies. I don't know what that's about. I don't think I like that. Those tick, 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 tick. Also, with some of the synths, you're going so low here. Like this synth is going so low that it's starting to mess with the, like, not the lowest frequency, but the lower harmonics of the bass line here. You normally want to avoid that. Also, at this point, you would need to have a new synth here, as opposed to just having the two things trying to do everything. Yeah, this synth should be playing a section before, and then the atmosphere that is constantly playing here at the higher frequencies should no longer be playing. That has run its course, that's silent. We're getting bored of it now. And again, you're trying to use the same synth to do a new idea. I would use a new synth for that. So this section has its own unique synth that you're playing with. Overall, I do think that the track is a little bit empty. And one of the reasons is, as opposed to all of the other tracks that we had in this genre, you always have just one sound playing. Or sometimes two, like this is in this case two. You do want sections where there's more than two sounds playing. The final thing I'll say is, where are the drums? Drums and interesting stuff happening to the kick and bass, like fills and stuff like that. I think there may be some strange compression artifacts that I'm hearing on the kick right in that spot. Do you hear how every kick transient is different? You can see it in the analyzer as well. Maybe you didn't resample your kick.
Is that...
I'm sorry. It's just autoplay. That last part was not part of the track. That's the next track. It's autoplay. Overall, I do like the ideas. I do like your sound design. It's the big thing is that you're trying to do too much with the synths that you have. And you're giving them, in this case, too much space. So one of the effective things that you could put behind it is some particles, for example. Just some, like, 16-note sequence with the bandpass plugs, the bandpass particles. I talked about bandpass particles or particles in general recently. You don't always have to use a bandpass, I guess. Recently in that Vital video. So if you need an idea of what I mean, then go watch this video over here, Particles in Vital. I also have a pack out for Serum that includes some particles, 10 to be precise. But yeah, that was Cats Making Biscuits. Really cool username, really cool idea for a track. It just needs a lot more work. First little mess around, yeah. What you're doing when you're messing around like this is, I think you're just giving yourself too much space for the synths. Now it's going to become really hard if you want to work in other ideas, because there's already those synths in there. So what I would do is just restrict those synths to the sections that they need to play, the individual sections that they need to play. And then you can have more space in the kick and bass, right? You'll have an empty kick and bass where you can place in new sounds that you can play with. Next up, we have Shumaka's List. My very first attempt on Psytrance. Hope you like it. Fortnite Plus MP3. Let's see. Can I play it in Dropbox? Yeah, here's a play button. Nice, nice, nice. Starting off very well with the dark atmosphere here. Very nice. Like the sound design. I like that the kick and bass is clean. It is unprocessed, this kick and bass. You can see this saw wave in here. So you would need to do some processing. Also, you have some weird stuff going on with the last note being louder than this one. Normally for a groove, this one is slightly louder than this one. And both of them are quieter than the kick. So that's what you should aim for. Also, I don't know what's happening now, why the bass line suddenly became louder. And now quieter again. That shouldn't happen. You should always have the bass line on the same level. Not too bad for a first try. Definitely. If this is a first try, then it's very, very good. Nice sound design, nice sectioning off of the sounds. We have a new section playing here. So new sounds start to play. Very well done. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that really high screechy sound there. Another thing that I'm hearing is a lack of punch, which you get from this area here from 100 Hz. I like it usually a nice boost at 100 Hz on my kick when I hear kicks like this. And a little bit more in your case around 200, maybe even up until 300. It feels very hollow, the kick. You can see it in here, if I pause this maybe. This area here is also very hollow. This is, I guess, the 500 Hz, which I personally tend to cut a little bit, but not to this extent. I just mean the kick, not the bass, by the way. The bass is good in that regard. Overall, for first attempt, very, very well done. I really like it. If that's your first time making sidetrends, then it's a lot better than me and you're going places. Just so you know. Just so you can prepare for that fact. Next up, Deepagus, Root Sector Records. I see a record label in there. I'm scared I'm going to get struck. Make sure that you whitelist my channel if you're working with labels or distributors. This is just a friendly reminder to get all of that fixed. It is also written in the terms here that by submitting, you waive your right to anything and you grant me permission to play and review the track during the live stream and the subsequent video on YouTube. So this needs to be honored and you're not allowed to claim me and I will fight back. Just so you know. Friendly reminder. I'm just because I see records in here, so I get scared a little bit. Anyway, Deepagus San Pebros Ne. I probably mispronounced that. Better than my 20th try, lol. The waveform looks scarily flat here. Not just yet, but once the kick and bass comes, you'll hear. I'm not a fan of this late effect there. What I would do is have that effect come in a little bit earlier. So there's the effect. Oh, something's gonna happen. Little pause and then the kick and bass happens. Kick and bass is nice and clean. You love to see that. Transient could be a bit louder here on the bass line. Could have a little bit more higher frequencies coming from it. track feels a little bit dark in terms of its mixing in general. It's not just the bassline of the or the transient of the bassline, although that is exceptionally dark now. Even the drums could use a little boost here, I would say. They could be a little bit more aggressive to kind of contrast the fairly strong low frequencies that you have and also the fairly strong mid-range that you have. I got all the rights. I mean, that's not the problem. Nowadays, the problem is that the people that actually submit are the ones that, through the distributor, are claiming my stuff. Sound was a little bit aggressive, a little bit too strong, in my opinion. One of the things to keep in mind when mixing is that trans-gated sounds are perceived quieter than non-trans-gated sounds if they play at the same volume, because you're cutting up the sound and for parts of the sound the volume just isn't there. So if you have a stab like this and then it becomes trans-gated, you need to slightly compensate for that with a few dB. Projector's laugh is alright. I like that you like my laugh, because I don't like it. I'm not self-conscious about it, but I don't like it either. Do you hear, by the way, the drums, how muffled they are? You can literally see it in the spectrum that it's just go zook. I go down and then here I am. This should continue like this. Arguably, it should have a little bump here in the high frequencies, because psytrance is just like techno. It's fairly aggressive on the high frequencies. Even the darker types of psytrance tend to be mixed in a way, at least, that brightness comes through. Because high frequencies is an indication of high energy, and this track definitely is supposed to have high energy. There they are. There's the drums. Suddenly the drums came through. This is one of the points where I would like to see some new sound design come into play. We've been doing a lot of atonal stuff up until this point. So this is the point where you would maybe do something slightly different. Maybe just focus on atmospheres and one-shot, stuff like that, as opposed to your atonal sequences that we have been hearing all the time. Because this is the point where the drums all go down and the energy all goes down. So this is the point where you have a little bit more space, right, to play with. You could have maybe even have like vocal chops that play every 16 notes, just because that's different. Can you give a short description of what a trans-gated sound is? After this track plays, I'll demonstrate. In terms of sounds, for the people that were here before that are making this kind of darker psy feeling psytrance, this is a good balance between how many different elements should be in every part of the track. Although I do think that this is still lacking in the uniqueness department, as I said before, where we just had a section where you could have played a little bit more with the uniqueness of the sound design. What I would have gone for there, by the way, is vocal chops, probably. Like very short stuff like that. You just get the vocal, chop it up into 16 notes, and then play with that. Technically, Elephantine is more than a transgate. I'll show later with an actual transgate from kilohertz what exactly I mean with that. Yeah, you can see now that it's very little stuff playing, that the high frequencies are definitely not high enough, especially from the drums. I think a lot of high frequency content that we saw before are actually from the synths. You kind of want to avoid that, like a lot of 10 kilohertz stuff happening from the synths itself. And in this case, the kick and bass is doing that well, right? The kick and bass is getting out of the way nicely. So this is well done. I would even say that the bassline could be a bit more clicky, a bit higher if you wanted to, but for this dark kind of psytrance, that's okay. It's just this, you shouldn't have just the synths kind of doing like this. The synths should roll off a little bit towards here, so that you then have the space for the drums to actually create that bump. Again, I'm exaggerating it so that you get the idea of the shape, but there should be a little bump in the spectrum here at the higher frequencies. Anyway, so this was Dipigus. Very good track overall. San Pebros Ne. Very cool. Let me quickly get like a little vocal thingy. That's usually where you'll hear transgates on. So if I go to like an ethnic vocal that you'll often hear, right? Something a little bit longer. Yeah, say this, right? This is the vocal that you have. If you transgate it, what you do is, let me just load kilohertz transgate. And the classical transgate is like this, where you get that chopped up effect, but it's just in volume, right? So you're not doing any filtering, you're not doing anything crazy. Somebody else said Elephantine. Elephantine, yes, can do it. If you take Elephantine like this is not a transgate, this is sidechaining. Right, so this is a different volume modulation. Specifically, transgating is usually done, as I said, at 16 notes. And then you have where at the beginning the sound plays, and then afterwards it goes down. And I kind of automatically add a little bit of space here. I don't do it like this so that you get clicks, but I give a little bit of space here so that it fades in nicely. And you get something like that. So that's a transgate. Anyway, next up we have Hans, also known as Tamarta, with Tearing Me Apart. I wonder if this is going to be psytrance. I wonder if this is even going to be legal for me to play, seeing as Arjen van Buuren and Jake Reese is in here. Why is that in the cover art? Also, I'm new here, Projector. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. You're welcome. I'm glad I could help you with that. I hope this Hans guy is still in here and can answer me. If he owns the copyright to an Arjen van Buuren track. If not, I cannot play it. So that is something that we would need to discuss. I'm just going to wait here for a little bit and see. I'm just kind of scrolling up the chat right now to see if he maybe wrote something before. There was this one guy, I forgot the name exactly, who said that he removed the link. But I think that was either Sophist or who else? Not Sophist, the other guy with an S in his name at the start. Salviacat. I think he was the guy that said he deleted something. If you're around, Tamarta or Hans, please let me know. And say if you have the rights for me to play this. If it even is that, because the title here is different, then need to know, right? Tearing Me Apart, need to know. I don't know. Currently, I'm not planning on playing it because it has Arjen van Buuren in there. I can, with just copyright and how much a pain in the ass that has been, it's just not a good idea for me to play it. You know what I mean? I know the delay is kind of long right now. I'm still on the longest delay just because of connection issues. But he's not playing he's not writing in the chat. So for now, I'm going to skip this one. Unfortunately, I always find it unfortunate if I have to skip things and I cannot help people. But there are certain limits to what I can play here on stream. And it is literally written in here that you cannot just submit anything that you don't own the copyright to. Or this is, don't submit anything that you don't own the copyright to. This part, he is violating, I guess. At least that's what it looks like. It might not be the case, in which case, if he does say so, then later we'll get back to it. Next up, we have Space Rider, also known as Acid in my Discord. Very loyal guy, has been all around here. Be with the Light, A minor, 140 BPM. Let's see. I don't know if this is meant to look like this. It looks like you just rendered out the kick and bass. I don't know. We'll play it and we'll see. It is playing, but nothing is playing in here. So that might be the case, that we're just listening to the kick and bass soloed. I'm just going to skip forward a little bit to test. I think this is just the kick and bass. It's a good kick and bass. I like it, but this is just a kick and bass. If you're still here, maybe you should re-render it. It's nice and clean though, that's what I can say. There's a bit of a strange click here. I think you always use the same kick, but this click, I would remove that. Also, you should sometimes consider not having the hat on it, because it washes out the transient a little bit. And then the final thing I would say is that the envelope can be a bit stronger on the bassline. Like it closes a little bit sooner, so that you get more of a click towards the beginning. And then I guess you can also volume shape this a little bit better, because right now it kind of goes up into it. I think what you would want is a little bit more punch out of it by having the volume here the highest and then it's slowly going down. I said it wrong, sorry. No worries, we just analyze your kick and bass and you have great detail on the kick and bass and great feedback on the kick and bass. You see, one of the things that is happening to your bassline is that it's just really coming up here. There should be a transient right here. You know what I mean? I want to see your... I know for a fact, knowing you, that there's going to be a rolling kick and bass somewhere in here. I think. There we are. Let's have a listen to that as well. We could just rate kick and basses. I like this bass line a lot more already. The kick still kind of has the same issue. There's some weird stuff going on in here. For some reason, it's being pushed down here, even though you cleaned your bass line. So that's strange. Final thing I'll say, tonally, you can go a little bit lower on 100 Hertz to like 300 Hertz, this area here. It feels very hummy, the whole thing. Both the, or mainly the bass line, I should say. This one as well, this is very high on the second harmonic relative to the first harmonic. I like mine roughly at the same area, but your first harmonic is here and the bass harmonic is like here. So that's a big difference. It is fairly Blastoise-like. I'll send my new kick and bass too. We can do that. That's kind of a fun idea, actually. One day we just rate my kick and bass. You just send your kick and bass over and I'll just sit here and deeply analyze just the kick and bass. Because I do get to see a lot more about the kick and bass that you can really change, right? If I just see the kick and bass. That's why I always check for cleanliness when it's just the kick and bass playing, because then it's a lot easier to see. A new meta has been born. Anyway, maybe you can send it in later. I gave you a lot of information on the kick and bass itself, but we can listen to the rest of the track as well. What should I do? Cut a bit of that area on the bass? Yes, exactly. That's what I would do. So that the lowest harmonic and the first harmonic, the first and second harmonic is, for me, always roughly around the same height in terms of volume. And for you, it tends to feel a little bit hollow if that first harmonic is a lot lower than the second harmonic, right? This first harmonic is the bass harmonic, the sub-bass harmonic. And then the second one is the one that usually sits around 100 hertz, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. Yeah, you're a little bit higher at 110 because you're in A minor, right? So here. And then your first harmonic would be here at around 50 hertz-ish. So this one should be a bit higher and this one should be a bit lower. And I also felt like the ones a little bit higher up, the third and the fourth and maybe the fifth as well, could also be a little bit lower in volume. So if you want to submit again, we can do that. I'll wait for you, but in the meantime, I'm going to be playing the track by a Psy music. Just one Psy. This is Life Goes original mix. It's taking a while to load. There we are. Nice visuals there with the Ableton project in there. I am at maximum volume. I might need to turn this up a little bit because YouTube generally turns down the volume as well. Very dirty kick and bass. You can see the transient being pushed up here, which is a combination of you not cleaning your bass line. The other thing I would say, it's a combination of you not cleaning your bass line and just this transient being too loud here towards the up thing. Like, it's not just not cleaning the kick and bass. The other thing is this bass note is too loud and the kick is not long enough. What I would do is have the kick provide the majority of the sub bass in here in this area, or even all of the sub bass. Turn this bass note down by a little bit so you get more of that rolling pattern here, the almost towards the gallop pattern. I'm rendering again. May I send it or is it too late? It's okay. But this definitely needs some cleaning and attention in that area. You can see if there's multiple kicks playing, by the way, what it does to the transient, right? The transient goes both ways here, for example. So it's very loud on the transient. Also, how the waveform gets taken over by some of the synths, that's not a good thing. You want your kick and bass to be the loudest bit. I don't know what's happening here, but this is a mess. When it comes to your drums, what you definitely don't want to do is play with the volume of the drums over time. You just want your drums to come in and stay at the volume. I heard them automating in this section. The other thing is, as I said, the synths are way too loud. The effects, sweeps, whatever this is way too loud. Another thing is there's a lot of stuff going on over here that I don't quite understand. Like, why is there extra mess in here? There should be more clean harmonics in here. I think you're doing some weird processing on it, not just your general phase shift that you're doing with normal bass lines. Again, it's also in the waveform, right? Like, this is not a standard bassline waveform in that it goes up and down and up and down. So that's looking very strange to me. The final thing I'll say is that there's not a lot of structure to the track, to the placement of all of your synth elements. Like, things just kind of happen, it feels like. Part of that may be due to the mix. The mix feels a little bit muffled as well. Again, we talked about it before, how you generally want a little bit of a boost from your drums coming in here. The drums are a little bit quiet, so you don't get that boost. And not just the volume, but you also want to balance a bit more towards 10K, I think. This stuff is sounding very strange with the clicks and all of this stuff happening here. This bass line is already better. In this case, the kick can be longer. It can also have more bass, the kick here. This is already sounding a bit better. I like the clarity of this bass line a lot more than what you had before. There's some very strange effect going on right now on the bassline that is just accentuating random harmonics for some reason. Do you see it? Oh, this harmonic is louder, then this harmonic is louder, then here this one, this one, this one. Here it's these two, here it's these two again. I don't know if I like that. It sounds very strange just having random harmonics be slightly louder. Here again, this effect is way too loud, right? Like, you can turn that down by 12 dB and it would probably still be on the loud side. Because it's an effect, right? It's not the main thing that you're listening to. The main thing that you're listening to when you're dancing to psytrance is the kick, and then second comes the bass, then come the main synths, and then come all of the effects, your sweeps and all of that stuff. And vocals kind of sit just above main synths, I would say, in that regard, but that's not applicable here. By the way, maybe now it feels like a good time to say this. Anybody is looking for mixing services, I do offer them. You can go on my website. I can fix all of this, by the way, if you want me to. Just scroll down past all of my cool products and then right here, mixing services. You will learn more. There's a document in here. with everything you need to know about my mixing services and what I can do for you. But this definitely needs a lot better mix. The peak is too high on the kick. Yes, overall the kick definitely needs redoing. It needs to be made longer. It has a peak that is way too loud, but the sub bass is too quiet. So I guess you could kind of balance them both by kind of going like zzz, that. Kick was too loud. It isn't too loud. It peaked too high. Those are two different things. Loudness is not measured in peak level. It's measured in RMS or more commonly or more modernly LUFS. Thanks for the feedback. You're welcome. I hope it helped. Not Psy, but it has some Psy sort of sound design, I think. Needs some polishing before mixing, mastering it. Work in Progress thing by DM3 is what we're listening to now. And the last track was Life Goes by Psy Music. Some very high bells in here. Not a lot of progression in here. When you have a sequence like this and stuff like this, when it's already so bright, I would filter it in over time. You have a melodic element in here that should stand out a bit more from this mix. That element over there, that ARP kind of thing. And now you're correctly taking it over with a different synth. But even here, that synth doesn't get all of the space required. I like this. This part sounds nice. This is nice and fresh. One of the things though is the sub bass is a bit too loud, like maybe a dB too loud. The kick could have a bit more punch. And overall I feel like there's a lot of noise and little things happening, and maybe it's reverb tails, I don't quite know what it is. The elements don't have really the clarity that they need. They do have it in terms of like spectrum. They don't have it in time, I would say. Like there's a lot of extra noise kind of constantly happening. And especially in the high frequencies in the drums, you really want that those drums to be snappy, their kick transient to be snappy, and you don't get that if there's always something playing. You know what I mean? These things of noise here, this slight noise that is always playing. If this is a reverb, then make it shorter so that it decays just a little bit more before the next segment, especially in stuff like this here. This is okay. This is what it's supposed to look like kind of everywhere. But this is too much. There's too much stuff happening over here, here. You know what I mean? It's probably reverb tails. Yeah, that would be what could happen here. They do tend to do that. They do tend to muddy up your mix. I just tuned in, cool stream. What visualization analysis plugin do you use? This is called Signalizer. I have 4 different instances, as you can see. One for stereo width, one for the waveform, one for frequencies. I just temporarily disconnected, but now I'm back. That's the quickest disconnect and reconnect I've ever had, I think. Let's hope it doesn't happen again. It still has the same disconnection and reconnection issues. Thanks for feedback. You're welcome. We have 11 more tracks after this, or at least 11 more messages. Oh, okay. So there's a lot of messages that aren't tracks. I was getting scared. Like, do I really have to sit here the whole evening listening to music? But we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more things going on here. I was watching on my TV and YouTube chat is being super glitchy, so I couldn't comment, but I wanted to say thanks for the feedback. YouTube chat has always been glitchy, at least for me. Like, sometimes it just doesn't work. Is all this analyzer in one? No, it's 4 different plugin windows that I have strategically placed on top of each other to just hide the little bar here, so that we have more space. You can see I have the 4 different things in here. By the way, I think I already did this. Resources. Turns out I didn't. I wanted to send the analyzer. I think it's this one, but I'm going to save it again. Analyzers. New. Just so that I know. Cannot be renamed. Okay. Just gonna show an explorer real quick here. I'm just going to put this in resources so that you guys have the presets. You just have to install Signalizer, and then at least in Ableton, in the resources area here, you can just download this, and you just put it in where you have your analyzers in the audio effects, like in this part here, and then you can just open it up. Right, it will just open up as the rack right here, and it should have all of the same settings as I have. I mean, I wish I could also send in. You can. Exclamation feedback. And you can send your track whenever you want. No, I mean, Hofa is all this one package. I don't know what you mean. Hofa is all this one package. But you said you will end the stream soon. I don't want to be annoying. I mean, it's 4 more tracks. I can handle a 5th one. Or a 6th one, I guess, as it already sent a track. It's okay. Hova plugins. I don't think this is Hova. Is his name Hova? This is the website. It's like really from the 80s. This is where you get it from. I don't know if this is the plugin that you mean, but maybe it is. If you're tired and you don't mind to wait next week, I'll fix the kick and bass this week anyway. It's exactly your rack, but just one VST. Oh. The reason why I have multiple VSTs, part of it is because this VST only shows one thing. The other part is because there's no VST that will have this shape, right? In interface. It always has to be square. And that means that whatever interface that I have of this size, my face cam will always be in the way of at least some of it. So I cannot use that. It is okay, by the way, the asset. I can still play your track on the stream. It doesn't matter too much. Next up, we have Indian Mantra, Psychedelic Trance Remix by San, right here, or Mr. S. Let's have a listen. I'm just going to go quick through these, but I'll play whatever you guys want to. Yeah, this is 4 minutes. I bet some of the others will be shorter as well. Hopefully there's no 10-minute tracks. That would be... Vocals are very quiet. That sound, bass sound, whatever it is very loud. Very loud. Also, the kick here doesn't really have a click, it has a slap. So it takes too long to go down. It also starts its modulation too high. Now it doesn't go down far enough. I can see what you try to do here. The kick just kind of stops here and then the bass plays. That's too loud. The synth is too loud. What you would want to do, first of all, you need to resample. And one of the things you need to do is fade all the way down here. I do like the technique of connecting the saw waves from one bass note to the other, but you lose the transient doing that. So you don't want that. You lose your click doing that. Here we have too much reverb and delay on the vocal. You cannot hear what they are saying. I like that effect. That sounds nice. This as well, the sound design. There's some really cool effects in here that you're doing. Just the kick and bass feels very amateurish. I would just recommend getting a kick sample, to be honest. And maybe even a bass preset, if you don't mind. Okay, that riser doesn't really achieve much because it isn't rising into anything. Here again, the vocal is so loud, you can see it really deforms the waveform, right? So now you can see the kick and bass again. But here you cannot see the kick and bass because there's just so much louder stuff happening that you cannot really hear the kick and bass. There you can see you have a riser that is twice as loud as the kick and bass, even though the kick and bass is the most important part of the track. Another thing to consider, which I will always say, is a little bit of stereo width on the bass line. Here again, you have a riser that rises into nothing. What I normally like to do with my kick and bass is whenever I have a fill, which you should probably have every 16 bars-ish, so that you actually have something to rise into with your risers. What you did is you had your kick and then you had your final bass and then it stopped. I like to put another kick behind it so that the kick kind of closes the phrasing of the kick and bass. It sounds more natural that way. Here a lot of the sequences don't really make sense from a musical standpoint. Like, things are just kind of playing. It feels like it's not even really in sync with what you're playing in the kick and bass. I guess it is. Okay, there you have kicks laying on top of each other. You would need to, again, clean up the kick and bass in order to be able to do that. Stuff is happening way too loud here. And it's not just that things are happening way too loud, they're just happening randomly. Like you say, okay, I like this sound, let me just place that there with very little reasoning. Normally, the way that I would do that is I would pay much more attention to the structuring. Kick and bass alignment is very complex. Is it? Check it out, it has space for your camera. I will check it out now that I know that from the Hova plugins. I'll try to remember that. If you want, you can put it somewhere as well. Maybe also in resources so that I can find it. Everything is complex, not gonna lie. If you really... Okay, so for people that are struggling with their kick and bass, I have one tutorial to rule them all. It's the Kick and Bass Guide 2023 that I recently published. I say recently, but...
I mean, you can see it going.
I published it in October. Everybody who has issues with their kick and bass, watch this. You will not have issues with your kick and bass again. You will have spent 3 hours learning something, but you will learn how to do kick and bass. And the main thing that you will learn out of this video, hopefully, is that it's not so much about really hearing it. It's about training to be able to hear certain things, and for other things, using stuff like Syscope. Because there's certain things about kick and bass that you can only identify in the waveform. You have to have really good ears to be able to identify that just in by hearing it. And then you would need to be in a very good environment as well to be able to hear some of the problems that can happen with the kick and bass if you don't do it right. Anyway, next up we have another track from Jointler. This is called Hard Techno. This one right over here. Recently made this. I think I've got better when compared to some of my latest stuff. So this is the latest stuff, or this is earlier stuff then? I think he means that this is earlier stuff. Maybe he's still in the chat and we'll see. I can handle a fifth one set like a true king. I am a true king. Of course. Let's see. Let's see how good this is. Did that yesterday. Nice. Okay, so this is recent then. I like it so far. Some proper rave steps. Can never go wrong with that. This is very good, yeah, I do like this. The only thing I would say is your vocal didn't really come through as much as you would maybe want to. At this point the synth does get boring, so I'm hoping that later on in the production you will decide to have a fill at some point. At least like 16 bars before we're and now. Because I think this is 32 bars, the section that we just heard of the drop. I would make that 16 bars, and then what I would do in your fill is do a fill of 2 bars. I'm going to be very specific, but I think that this will work. You do a fill of 2 bars after the first 14 bars of your drop, so that you have 16 bars in total. And then in that fill, you keep the melody, but you filter out the higher frequencies of it. And then you go into just kick and bass and drums after that. So the synths do, like, they come in from the intro, they do their little thing, and then it's just forcefully powering into the bass line. Or into just the kick and bass and drums, right? So that that's the part where it's just super forced. Time to get the cocaine out. Yes, TikTok music. I like this, that we have this new generation that has such cool opinions about music. They think every song needs to be slowed down and needs to have extra reverb added. It's really cool as an artist to have some 12-year-old slow down your song and add reverb to it and get 3 times the amount of views that you get. Anyway, back when I used to have time to produce, this is YDT. Let's see. With 2018, I guess, is the track name. Straight off the bat, some really cool stereo with stuff going on in here. Props for that. Nice FM synths coming. Or speed it up and call it nightcore. It's like reverse nightcore what they're doing nowadays. Halftime reverb, fart sample. Yes. Vine boom sample. Dot wave. Up until this point, the part where the kick and bass has been been the quietest part. I would flip that the other way around. You can see it in SoundCloud as well. The intro is louder than the kick and bass here. So this intro should probably look more like this than it looks like this, right? It should probably be like this loud-ish. It's not cleaned up. So you would need to resample your kick and bass. Now this is from 2018, so I will treat it just like any other production, but I know that you're probably no longer working on this. Overall, I think that in the synths, there's a bit too much happening at around 5k-ish. It's sounding harsh to me. Usually in sidetrans, the spectrum looks, I'm going to exaggerate again, but it looks somewhat like this. Maybe a little bit more like this. Like it has like a W shape to it, slightly. Obviously I'm exaggerating, but that's kind of what it looks like. Some very strong resonant tone here. If I were a dog, I would be losing my mind right now. It's just 20 seconds of this tone at the end. I'm back into the game again. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad I can help people bring back their passion. It was a rough mix. Yeah, it sounded a little bit rough, not gonna lie. But it's a nice idea. I like it. So that's the ad blocker thing, and then we have 2 more tracks. This is the new kick and bass from Boom Boom Bassa. Let's see. I would fade this out a little bit earlier. I would apply a little bit of stereo width, and I would slightly tone down the amount of saturation that you're applying here. It's getting to the point where it becomes gritty. You know what I mean? It has that kind of texture to it now. It's doing that on the bass line. Oh, I wanted to pause this. I want to look at it again. Like I know you're cleaning it, right? The transient is looking cleaned at least, and the kick transient is looking clean. So there is something that is preventing something, or preventing the note from bleeding into the bass line. But what I always like is you get the maximum amount of punch if you just go completely to silent right before it, and you don't lose anything by doing it. So even here you could go to silent on this oscillation, but probably you can have this one go, and then you just make it silent here, and these last 2, you don't really need that. So just remove that with the fade that you add towards the end of it, and then it should be... It just gives you a little bit more space, it gives you a little bit more punch, because it just really, you know, moves to silence, and then the transient comes through. Gives you the ultimate click, the ultimate punch. By the way, for those that don't know, Boom Boom Bessa and Subject Ultra in my chat are the same person. He has a different name on Discord than on YouTube. I've just blown his identity, but now you know. Next up, Be With The Light by Space Rider. This will be the second to last track that I'll listen to. There's one more track after this. And then I'm going to call it for today. What could be nice to give more impact to the melody is to have the melody only come in after the impact, right? So that impact happens and then you give some space to the melody itself, and then the melody has a lot more power to it. I would even go as far as to remove the vocal then in the pre-drop, so that the pre-drop is just fully giving you presence to that melody. Because now it feels like I just kind of was there a little bit below it. Didn't really know if it was going to come out or not. I'm not going to give the same critique about the bass line, but you can again see first harmonic is here, second harmonic is here. So it's how much of a dB difference is that? I don't even know what the dB is. This is -5. This is -16. So 11 dB difference. I would make that maybe 1 or 2 maximum. A little bit of strange skin coming out of my nail here. So here a new melody is coming in, while the old melody is kind of still sticking around there. Now we're transitioning into the new melody, so that last bit feels a little bit strange, like it doesn't really know which melody that section wants to be a part of. To me, I like clear transitions more, where you transition on the start of the section, basically, the first kick of the section. I'm always being the late one. You have the honor of closing the stream, my friend. I like this. This is nice and contrasting with the stuff that we had before, in that it doesn't really have that melodic part that we had heard before. I'm sorry, this guy. I'm tired, so after the track by Cosmo, I'll stop for today. I really like it so far. There's balance-wise, it's good. There's the main issue that I have with this track up until this point is in the kick and bass, and we already pointed that out. Here the vocal doesn't stand out enough. What you're doing there is you're vocoding it. The release time on the vocoder is probably too long.
Alien ritual.
That one is good. That's what you want your vocoded sound to sound like. Or if you're using the delay trick where you have a very short delay timing, right, in like 10 to 20 milliseconds, then the feedback is too much. But here again, you can hear it's getting, one, it's washed out by the other elements. There's too many other elements in there, kind of. And the other thing is the washing out effect that you get from the vocoder or that delay trick is too long here. So either the feedback should come down or the release of the vocoder should come down. Whichever one of the two it is. This bass line as well could use a little bit more sub and a little bit less first harmonic. So here, if you have the vocal, you can remove the sequence temporarily. What I would do in that case is just remove the sequence also from this section. So you remove it from the fill, then it doesn't make sense that the sequence stops, starts again, and then stops again. So in that case, what I would do is for that section of the track also not have the sequence. So just have the sequence up until the vocal, then the vocal plays, and then it goes into the next section and it does the other stuff. The same was kind of true for this sequence that we hear here. I like that you're using some random panning on your closed hi-hat. I think it's a little bit too much because I can hear them almost being hard panned in sometimes, and you might get issues with it not translating too well to mono then. That's something to consider. But overall, the idea is very strong. The track is very well produced. I think it just needs a little bit of detail work. I've heard it before in your tracks, to be honest, that you have a tendency of a very strong first harmonic or a very strong second harmonic over a first harmonic. I don't know what the right term is. If it's fundamental first harmonic, second harmonic, or if it's fundamental first harmonic, second harmonic, third harmonic, like that. I always say first harmonic, second harmonic, third harmonic, but sometimes I do mess up and call what I normally call the second harmonic the first harmonic. But I hope that you know what I mean. The harmonic that you have over here, you always have had a strong tendency of having this harmonic louder than this one. But here it's to the point where I can say like it's too much. By way too much. Like there was an 11 dB difference. I would bring that minimum down to 4 dB difference between the two. Just imagine to the point where there were so many viewers projected would have to listen to our tracks for weeks. What I would do is I would just accept Patreon tracks at that point. There's going to, if I continue to grow, there's obviously going to come a point where it's just physically impossible to please everybody by giving feedback to their track. There's two routes that I can go. I could skip through the track and listen to small parts of it. But should I get gain in the first harmonic? Add a little bit to the first harmonic. Or, yeah, the first harmonic, so the fundamental. And then lower the second harmonic a little bit. Lower the third harmonic a little bit. Lower the fourth harmonic a little bit. Kind of like dip it all down a little bit. Because if you just remove the second harmonic and leave the third harmonic at its peak, you're going to have the same issue, but between the second and the third. So you kind of want to smooth that out a little bit. I guess what you want to do, really, is honestly just something like this. I guess. And then nice big Q, so that's going to, you know, boost or it's not going to affect the balance between these harmonics too much. and you're going to get a nice increase in sub base. I'm maybe exaggerating a little bit, but maybe 5 dB, maybe 6 dB is what you need in both ways to actually fix the issues that you have. I think I also explained it pretty well in the part where we just listened to your kick and bass, so maybe go back and watch that as well. I thought I wanted to say a little bit more, but I think that's it. Anyway, the final track is going to be Cosmo Bass, Watch by Tripping, Watch While Tripping, by Cosmo Sheesh here. So let's see what you have in store for us. I am unfortunately not tripping, but you'll have to forgive me. Very loud plugs here. I don't think that that's necessary. I also would shorten the kick because you're still bleeding into the next kick drum. Also, the kick is out of phase. That's interesting. So the kick drum, one channel, the kick drum is going up while the other one is going down. So this is going to cancel in mono. Now there's a bass playing that is completely just overpowering everything. I was gonna say the kick, but it's overpowering everything. Overall, you can see that you're consistently too wide. Alright? You want to stay below halfway phase, I guess, out of phase-ish. That's the difference between the left and right channel. This is, the left and right channel are completely the same. This is the left and right channel are completely opposite of each other. So they would cancel completely in mono right here. And you want to stay on this side here. And you're consistently going in this side here. Especially when you're doing bass heavy stuff. With bass heavy stuff, you should be around this area here. How can I fix such issues? You take something like a utility and just turn the width down. Anything that has this width parameter on it should fix that. Unless it's the width of a filter band or whatever. But just the width in general. A stereo effect that you might want to use for that is MSET. It works a little bit differently, but you can just turn down the volume of the sides. And that just makes stuff mono or more stereo. Right, you can see this is kind of the same graph as you can see here, right? You can almost imagine it as the same graph. And you can see there's a little bit of noise in my system. So right now I'm making the noise more stereo. Now I'm making the noise completely stereo, so you get fully stereo width here. And if I do like this, it becomes fully mono. So it becomes fully along this line. It reads a little bit differently than this graph over here. But this is basically an average of how much stuff is happening on here on the mono line all the way up to the stereo line all the way down below here. Overall, for a first track, it's not bad. I do really like it. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm completely out of energy now and I'm very, very tired. So I'm probably going to eat a little bit and then watch some movies. I don't think I'm going to be doing any more editing today. I was going to do that. I did promise myself that I would do that, but I'll leave it be. And I'll do that tomorrow. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I hope that you all learned something and that the feedback was helpful. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. I'll probably stream again, hopefully, during the week. I want to get back to doing 2 streams during the week and then 1 every Sunday. With 2 streams being like kind of like unscheduled whenever I have time, whenever I feel right. And then 1 stream just doing the feedback and stuff like that. But I don't know. I've said that I think every week for the last half year and never done it. So there's no telling if I'm going to do it this week. We'll see.